Okay guys, today's a countdown of the top mistakes that I literally see all the time, and you want to check to see if you're doing these. Now, coming in at number 1 is tiny artwork in tiny spaces. And honestly, this is so true. Did you know that visually it works the opposite of what you would think? You got a tiny space, you put tiny artwork in it. No, it doesn't work that way. What you want to do if you've got a small space is you want to switch out those itty bitty photos and all those little frames, and you want to put in one simple, large, seriously large piece of artwork. Take a look at the difference here. Look at these corners. They look all jumbled up, and it makes the space feel cramped and tiny and overwrought, right? But here's another space that's even smaller than the other one, and it's got this one simple canvas in it. That's a great look, and you don't feel like the space feels tiny. Why? Because the focal point is simple. It's one thing. It's less clutter, and it's much more successful. So tiny spaces, switch that tiny artwork out to something big. Okay guys, now coming in at number 2, and let's see if you're doing this. It's a massive mess up, and it's a really, really common mistake, and it is jamming all your furniture up against the walls. I'm not sure where this got started. I think people thought it would make the room look larger, but it actually kills the function of the room. You're losing the ability to have a conversation group in the space, especially if it's a media or a living room like you see here. So the thing is about this though, it's a super easy fix. And here's what you want to do is you want to think about using your space a little differently. So you're going to create a floor plan, and it doesn't matter if you do it old school or digitally, I don't really care, but you want to do it to scale, and you want to know your space size, and you also want to know your furnishing size. And then you start laying it out. When you lay it out on paper, it's a heck of a lot easier than having to shove your furniture around 50 different times. Lay it out so that it looks like it's actually a conversation grouping. At that point, then you can move the furnishings over and go, ooh, this is really nice. Do I have a nice eye line to the next piece of furnishings? Do I have a nice traffic pattern, circulation? Is my focal point emphasized with this? There's all these ways that you can evaluate once you start changing it up from plan. So super easy fix, guys. And you can put away your megaphones if you're trying to like reach out to somebody way across the room. And if you guys are one of those guys where you're absolutely about to attack a kitchen or do something significant like a kitchen or a bathroom with your home, maybe add in a small addition, change out some windows, renovate in any way, you absolutely need to check out the designer method. This is my new program for anyone who's doing any kind of significant either construction or renovation to their homes. I take you from soup to nuts. There's a link down below that'll give you more information on it. So check out the link down below. It's definitely in the description, but it's also right here. And I hope I see you there. Okay guys, they're coming in at number 3 is not relamping your fixtures before you start to paint. And guys, when I posted this on Instagram, it literally exploded. So I know there's a lot of you out there that are dealing with this. Let me show you how you fix this. Let's just start out with this simple premise. Paint looks different in different lights. Look at this picture. That's the same colored wall, guys, just 3 different lamp colors, all right? So you have to understand that when you're looking at colors for paints in a store, forget it. It's never going to look like what it's going to look like in your space, okay? But it may not look like what it's going to look like in your space if you haven't relamped to what you want to have Kelvin-wise when you're done. So, super important step to take before you paint is to actually make sure that you've changed out all the light bulbs, of course, in the area that's going to be painted, okay? And then you're going to do your final testing, rule of 3, and make that final selection for your paint color. But it's only when it's in the right light colorway, guys, will it give you that look that you're looking for. I can't tell you how many times I have talked to people that have said, I've repainted this wall 3 times. I know, because there's a purple undernote that when you got it in the correct light, started to show up. So guys, lighting and paint colors are intimately linked. So simple thing to remember is change out your light bulbs to what you're going to have before you do any of that labor or spend any money. Okay guys, coming in at number 4, and it's a huge mistake that I also see all the time, especially if you're in a small space, and it's somebody going out and buying a sofa before you know it will fit in your space. Oh my gosh, that is such a waste of money. Look at these pictures. This thing is jammed up against that wall. This one is so slammed in there, they can't ever move that door. So here's why it's a problem, and it's an easy solve. When you're going into a showroom and you are looking around and looking at things, you're falling in love with pieces, you're checking them out, you see what you like. You know, sofas are kind of big investments. And it doesn't matter whether you're going to Restoration Hardware, Lazy Boy, every vendor does this. They are shown in ginormous warehouse spaces. Look at this one picture. This has 2 people in this chair. Does that give you an idea of how overscaled that chair is? That is not going to be a good solution if you are working on a small space project. So there's a super easy fix, and it goes back to an earlier point that we saw again, which is you want to just do a quick sketch of your space in scale so you understand before you get in there and start falling in love with something. You just need to know exactly, do I need a 72 inch? Do I need an 84? Do I need a 96? Do I need a 102? What size do I need for my sofa? Sofas are big investments, right? So you want to make sure you're getting it right the first time, because not everybody even lets you return them. So you want to know exactly what size works with your floor plan before you start roaming around in a showroom and falling in love. I'm going to show you something that's going to literally blow your mind. We think of contemporary as something like this, but contemporary actually got started from this. It's crazy, but it's true. And to understand why, we have to hop into my history book for a second. Now, contemporary design actually has its roots as far back as like 1875, mid-1800s, which kind of seems crazy because we were in the middle of the Victorian era. Yes, this actually happened. But the real deep roots of contemporary actually started with some paradigm shifting movements that came out of the early Industrial Revolution. The arts and crafts movement started in the 1870s. Look at this space. This was a movement that wanted to bring back the idea of artisanal craftsmanship, and it was a movement against industrial design. But you can see it still feels like it has some roots in traditional, for sure. You had Art Nouveau starting merely a decade later, a total shift from that. All of a sudden you have sensuous lines. Look at the curve on this staircase, or the trim inside this room. It's absolutely sensual. It's a beautiful look. Totally different feel. Then we move on to the Werkstatt. Oh my gosh, these guys really started to get serious. A movement against Art Nouveau. Everything straight lined. You had Joseph Hoffman, this was about 1903. You had Joseph Hoffman and his cronies, and they were beginning to work with straight lines, grids as decor. Everything was really starting to move into this very sort of contemporary, modern statement. Art Deco actually traces its roots directly to the Werkstatt, so you had a real connection with what was going to come later from those guys. But guys, the 800-pound gorilla that completely changed our entire world was the Bauhaus School. Now this was started by Walter Gropius and Mies van der Rohe in 1919, if you can imagine, and it went all the way to 1933. And these guys were taking industrial technology and creating furnishings and decor with it. They were changing perception. This was a paradigm shift. Look at this for a minute. This is the Bruno chair. It's a cantilevered steel seat. Now, we would easily use this in a project today. I've sat in them, I've used them a lot. But this was designed in the 20s by these guys. And if you can imagine, think of somebody from the Victorian era coming in and sitting in this chair. They probably thought it was magic. But they took the technology that was coming out of industrial design and applied it to the decorative arts. They were the bridge that took us out of that period and gave us things like skyscrapers and the most magnificent chair in the world, the Barcelona chair. They changed the game, and everything else that's come since started with them. So now that we know how we got from this Victorian to contemporary, but what really is contemporary style? Well, it's an enormously broad category, and these days it's influenced by everything from like tech to globalism. You've got all kinds of influences happening. So let me show you a couple of these subcategories that fall under contemporary. It's so broad. For instance, you have minimalism, kind of spare, clean. California beach, ooh, casual, little hip, but very contemporary. Deco, for sure, moved straight out of the Vienna Werkstatt and landed here. Glam, Hollywood Regency, rich colors, think Deco 20s, 30s, all of that. Global, absolutely. Global travelers, collectors, ooh, this is great. Mid-century modern, oh my gosh, that absolutely came out of this. Took a little bit of a natural woods turn, but it's still definitely contemporary. Scandi kind of went there as well. Blonde woods, absolutely strong contemporary. Rustic contemporary, working in a little bit of that industrial vibe, but still contemporary. Even pop maximalism. Oh my gosh, this one's just crazy off the charts fun, right? But it's definitely sits in the contemporary zone. So now I know that's a lot of looks. It's a broad range, but if one of these absolutely made your heart sing, then that's your style. That's what's resonating for you. And so what we need to do is we need to kind of understand how to put that together for your space. And to do that, there's a couple of rules to follow. And we've got to build your style language. And the first thing we're going to look at is your lines. In contemporary, your lines are clean, simple. You can either do straight or organic. For instance, this is a beautiful space, and notice that they've done this clean, sharp fireplace or element there, and then in front of it, the sofa has this lovely soft curve to it. So that's a great contemporary combination of lines. Or this other space that has this lovely plinth almost coffee table, and then it's got these groovy little curved smaller seats in the brown leather. That's fantastic. Contemporary wants minimal ornamentation on your elements, and you're really focusing on shape, mass, form, and texture to be those things that speak and blend together. So number 2 is your color palette. Super important with this one. Think statement. It can be monochromatic, like this space, absolutely gorgeous, very contemporary, very clean, but still warm and soft and inviting. And you can do it in neutrals, or you can do it in a solid, strong color. Like this fabulous one with the steel fireplace, oh my gosh, and that deep orange sofa, that's fantastic. But note, there's only 2 or 3 colors in there. They don't get busy with it. That's also very contemporary. They've done this one with just a little pop of yellow in it. Absolutely perfect. Number 3 is lose the patterns. Contemporary styling is all about the texture stories, and you can create that either through color statements or through actual physical textures. For instance, I love this space that has the deeply grooved carpet that's really yummy and chunky, and then it's paired up against this gorgeously high gloss veneer piece above the fireplace. That's amazing. Number 4 is keep a single focal point. Oh my gosh, this is super critical in contemporary. Why? Because contemporary is about spareness. It is about texture and more subtle stories than having a lot of patterns and having a lot of ornamentation that makes you look around. So, single focal point, and you can do it a number of ways. It can be a single piece of artwork or an architectural statement. Look at this red button. I bet that's the big Hal button.
Good morning, Dave. This is Hal.
But it's amazing. I love that piece in there. So that's both color and a single piece of artwork handling the focal point. Or look at this fireplace. Oh my gosh, with the stacked stone and the asymmetrical mantle level. Oh, that's a fabulous focal point for that space. Or your focal point can even be an architectural statement. If you've got maybe a fabulous view or big windows or something, that can absolutely be it. Look at this thing. Oh my God, it's one whole wall that's nothing but glass out to that beautiful view. But they've played around with the different pieces that are in the space, like that slick, beautiful blue glass table sitting up against a little rattan poof. That's so fun, and a big texture play. So keeping the focal point on the glass though, so that everything else just kind of works as a supporting player in the statement. Now, every couple of months, I get a little bee in my bonnet. Now, there's a number of you guys out there that are watching and not subscribing. What is up with that? Come on, you gotta smash that button and hit that like bell and comment down below. It makes such a difference to my channel, and I love it when you do. Now, moving on. If any of this is really floating your boat, how do you even get started? Okay, number one thing, edit. Edit, edit, edit. Oh my gosh, edit. Contemporary spaces are absolutely clutter-free zones. Do you see stacks of books and crappy paper sitting around in this stuff? No. Contemporary is super clean in that direction. So there's a number of great vendors out there that carry really great contemporary pieces because there's a lot to choose from. You want to kind of like think about some modern classics, for instance, and you could definitely start at places like Interior Icons, CB2, Crate and Barrel, West Elm. Anthropology has some very interesting and global pieces. Serena and Lily can kind of get you there as well. Now, I'm going to link all of these down below, as well as links that I have for all of my international subbies, because you guys keep sending them to me, which is great. And then don't forget your local spaces as well. You know, there's consignment and repurposed places, First Dibs, Cherish, Facebook Marketplace might have some things, Let Go, OfferUp, local home stores like Goodwill. They can have like some fabulous pieces that someone just isn't using anymore, and maybe it needs just a little zippy little reupholstery job or something, and you're there, you're on your way. And if you're looking for artwork, and you should be, because it's a super important decor element for any of the contemporary subcategories, you want to be sure and check out my video on art. It has a ton of online resources for acquiring interesting art that's original, that's not a budget buster. Places like Saatchi & Saatchi, HAA, there's all kinds of them on that video, so be sure and check that out. So guys, if you're wanting to do something in the contemporary category, you've got those 4 rules. Clean lines, color palette, lose your patterns, and make sure you focus in on your focal point.
Good morning, Dave. This is Hal.
Watch these videos, and I'll see you guys next week.
Here's to the good days, here's to the sorrows. If this is a mistake, I know about tomorrow. I don't wanna fight no more, cause I don't feel the need no more, no. Just wanna make it stop.